Alright guys, so it looks like the Pokemon bull market has continued. Today we're going to be looking at the singles, the PSA 10 values for February as of right now, February 11th. The single prices, the PSA 10 prices for these illustration rares, honestly since January have started to take off. So I just want to go ahead, and I wasn't looking at Obsidian Flames lately, and now that I have, it's honestly a great thing to discuss now because the PC ETB is expensive at $268, but you can still get the booster bundles right now. Market price is $37, but if you go to Hills Wholesale Gaming, you can get multiple Obsidian Flames booster bundles for $28. So you can already make a play right there. So today, guys, we're going to look at the PSA 10 values for illustration rares, and we're going to look at some secret illustration rares, and there's only a few, right? And Obsidian Flames, like the Pidgeot line. And yeah, so we're going to look at those values right now, see how strong Obsidian Flames is performing in this bull market right now. We're going to start right here with the booster box. You can see it's been fluctuating since January began in 2025. Started off at $175. Dipped down to the 160s, is now running past 170 into the 180s and climbing. So it's up 8% this last month. You can see there's been a ton of volume, from 5 to 30 booster boxes being sold these past 2 months, and we're not even done with February yet. So about 20 to 30 booster boxes being sold every few days. That's pretty nuts, which is causing this price to go up, right? And we don't know if we're going to get reprints for the first 4 sets up to Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces. But Obsidian Flames and Paldea Evolved, they got restocks, a few months ago. And so it's unlikely that we'll get some reprints. If we do get reprints, that would be a little bit devastating. But the bull market's so strong that I think, even though this set isn't as strong as maybe Temporal Forces or Surging Sparks for sure, and maybe even Paradox Rift, I think overall set value of Paradox Rift is like $700, whereas Obsidian Flames is only $300. I still think that even if it loses 20%, you're looking at the 145s. So it is at 185. 20 to 30% would bring you down to 145, 155. And yeah, so there's the booster box right now, selling for about $185. That is the market price for Obsidian Flames. Here is the Charizard Secret Illustration Rare, the EX, the OG, before we got that shiny and Paldean Fates, which is honestly, I've always preferred that card. But this one is starting to warm up on me because it is the OG terrestrialized version that came first. And this card is actually trending in the downward direction, but look at the volume. You're getting about 4 to 16 cards being sold every few days since January started. It's dropped from $88 down to $70 right now. And so decent amount of volume. You can see right here, 19 cards sold for $72. And I remember having multiples of this card that I bought for $45, $50 last year. And I had so many that so many meaning like 5. But to me, that's a lot, 5 $45 cards that I started giving them away to friends as like a trade or a gift, friends that weren't in the hobby that still had a bunch of cards from X, Y, and Sun and Moon, and just really haven't been following along with Sword and Shield and now Scarlet and Violet, that I wanted to give them some cool Charizard cards because there are those OG collectors still out there that have binders full of cards. And I think that's kind of what is captivating a lot of new people in this bull market, is we're getting people who've been collecting for years that are older than me and that just barely got back into collecting and maybe aren't investors, but they have huge collections, right, that are very valuable and don't even know about grading, or they want to grade, don't really know how, but they're just so busy with everything they got going on that they're not grading cards. So there's still a lot of plays to be had out there. The bull market's really strong. There's a lot of demand, and there's new people entering the hobby every day. And look at this PSA 10 price for this Charizard. You can see the population report, 6,000 PSA 10s right here, according to pokedata.io. It's a really great site. And there's 11,000 PSA 9. So that's about what, a 55% gem rate roughly. And so yeah, the PSA 10 is $426 right now, and it's gone up in January. Since January 1st, it's gone up from $343 all the way up to $426. So from 343 to 426, that's almost $100, or if not nearly $100 in gains right there in just a month. And so let's move on to the next card. We got the Ninetales right here. It's been waffling from $23 to $25, back to $23, and now it's made its way up to $29 since this year has began. It's a 28% gain so far this past month. That is crazy. 28% gain, going from $23 up to $29. And look at the volume on this card. This card is a beautiful card. Probably one of my favorite artworks outside of the Pidgeot EX card we'll look at soon. But yeah, the volume is, gosh, 15 to 35 cards on average being sold every few days. And honestly, that's still not a bad price. Like, of course, most of us know that Obsidian Flames, the pull rates were really easy. And so a lot of people, I don't know, people liked opening the set and then kind of forgot about it and thought it was mediocre. And, you know, these cards were selling for so cheap at one point. Look, you could see right here, this card was a $10 card in August 2024, which is what? Not even a year ago. Wait, yeah, not even a year ago. That is crazy, guys. So you know, obviously this card's a beautiful card. There's almost 1,500 in a PSA 10. We have 1,442. PSA 10 price is about $310 right here according to eBay on pokedata.io. And PSA 9 we have 2,808. So 1,400 PSA 10s and 2,800 PSA 9s. So again, that is like roughly a 50% gem rate, plus or minus. And because of that, you know, PSA 10s are hard to come by, especially in Obsidian Flames. The print quality wasn't really the best. Paradox Rift and Obsidian Flames print quality wasn't really good, although the hit rates were really good in this set. But look at right here in January, $169 for this PSA 10. This Ninetales is taking off past $200, past $250, all the way up to $310 a month later. So that's crazy, guys. From $169, and back then, you know, earlier this year, people were like, man, that's a pretty expensive PSA 10. $160 for an illustration rare with high hit rates. But again, it's a Ninetales with the 50% roughly gem rate for a PSA 10. You know, somewhat difficult to grade. And yeah, so people are buying up this PSA 10 and it continues to ride up. That's crazy. 100 and what? It started off at $173 and now it's $310. So almost $150 in gains. Let's move on to the next card. We got the Cleffa. I think I actually pulled this card. I need to find it, honestly. Sometimes you pull cards and you're like, oh, cool. That's a cool card. I'll just keep that somewhere, you know. And at the time, I didn't think it was that valuable. But look at the value right now. It's a $23 card. It's up 36% in the last month. In January, it was selling for $16.84. And now it's consistently gone up. A little volatile, though, to $23. The fact that you see it going up and down, up and down, up and down, that just shows how volatile the card is, right? And, you know, it's a beautiful card. Not the most popular Pokemon, but it is a beautiful card. So it'll be interesting to see with all of these illustration rares, especially the ones that maybe aren't the most popular Pokemon, where the price correction begins. You could see it hit $25, and we do see a price correction from February 1st. Now it's $23. So it's dropped $2 in the past few days. I guess that's 10 days. So it's dropped a couple dollars, you know. So we'll see where the stable support line ends up being. And support lines, you know, once you see like 3 to 6 months of a support line, then you're kind of like, okay, that card's a $55 card, or in this card's case, the Cleffa, a $23 card. But look at this PSA 10. This is honestly kind of crazy right here. Is PSA 10s in January was actually $138, surprisingly. Last year is around $80, $90. Again, let's look at the gem rate. 702 PSA 10s. And then there is about almost 1,300 PSA 9s. So I think that's above 50%. That's almost 60%, right, as a gem rate. Or actually, yeah, about maybe 55 again, 55% or so. But look at the PSA 10. So gem rate's about 55%, let's just say. $143. And now the card has gone up all the way to $263. So that's about a $120 gain in the past month since we started the new year. That's crazy. 2025 is definitely, people are saying now online or on YouTube that we've entered a bull market now like a year. And I could see that, right, with Sword and Shield phasing out and no more new reprints of Sword and Shield. And then people started, collecting Scarlet and Violet and investing in Scarlet and Violet really heavy because those were the most affordable entry points with the lowest amount of downside risk, so the entry points were really good for Scarlet and Violet. And now that the bull market is in full effect and we're like, in our first year of that bull market, I could see this bull market, continuing for the rest of the year. We still have a bunch of great sets that are going to be coming out. We have the specialty set of the Reshiram and Zekrom, I believe, for that one generation. What is it? Unova, Generation 5, I think. We have Journey Together. We have Team Rocket, which is now the set's going to be called Destin Rivals. And then I'm hearing that from PokeBeach, right? That article, we're going to be having more Rocket Pokemon after that set comes out. So people are excited, the demand is really high for Pokemon, and some of these cards are really nice and affordable, like this Gloom right here. It's up 31% since the new year began in January. It was a $13 card, actually went down to $11 on January 21st. Then it quickly shot up to $15, and it already faced a price correction. You could tell how volatile this card is, down to $14, and now it's up to $17. So look at the volume though. 88 copies of this card have been sold for $17.29. That's a lot of cards being sold, and again, the hit rates are really easy for this set. I might even have the Gloom, to be honest. I think I pulled it. People were pulling these cards left and right, booster bundles, ETBs, you name it, the Charizard. People were pulling the Charizard easily. And of course, there was FOMO even back then, and you could get the whole Charizard set of the gold, the silver Charizard full art, the gold full art, and the secret illustration rare. People were charging like, I remember $260, $70 for all 3 copies. It was pretty nuts, you guys. So, yeah, it's up 31%. It went from a $11 card now to a $17 card. Again, the PSA 10s are starting to shoot up. In January, this card was $128, and now it's gone up to $190. And again, you guys, PokeData.io is super great. It shows you all the eBay auctions and buy it nows. Like 36 went for auction right here. Someone got it for $155 on February 8th. So really great site. You do have to get more data. You do pay like, I don't know, maybe $15 a month for it. Don't correct me. It's been a while since I've paid that or even thought about paying for that, which I do apparently, obviously. But next we have this Pidgeot EX. I actually got a copy of this card, and like I said, pull rates were easy for this set, but their print quality wasn't really good. And I remember because even the cards I pulled, some of the cards didn't look too nice. The edges were all damaged. And going back to this Pidgeot EX, I was purchasing a couple of these Pidgeots, but they are hard to grade. And for example, I was on eBay and I was trying to source, look for cards to grade. And honestly, even the cards I got and the pictures I saw, there is still just nicks on the edges. So these cards are tough to grade. We'll look at the PSA 10 gem rate for this card, but it's up 10%. It's also been a pretty volatile card. You could see right here the the volume is pretty good though. You're having 10 to 50 to 60 copies being sold. Not on average right here. The average is about like 10 copies being sold every few days, but In this time period right here on February 4th, 64 copies were sold for $14. So that's pretty nuts. This is a beautiful card. If you haven't seen it in person, I think it's really nice. A lot of people didn't like the artwork at first, but I think it's warmed up on a lot of people, the cartoony feel, and it's a really nice card, and it does have texture because it's a secret illustration rare. So it's a $15 card. I think I got it around $12. So it hasn't moved a lot, you guys. And if you look at the sellers, I try to find sellers that had multiple copies. For some reason, there's just not a lot of, I guess people don't have multiple copies, or maybe they're keeping them. Who knows? When it comes to Japanese cards, though, you can get bulk deals on bulk deals. Honestly, I'm going to start grading Japanese cards. I'm starting to grade cards now. And yeah, you can get so many cards, and you can even try to work a deal on eBay or even on Instagram through different sellers. All right, let's look at the Pidgeot 10 or PSA 10s. 986 PSA 10s right now versus about 1600 PSA 9s. So it has a higher gem rate than 50%. So that's pretty good. It's about 60%. If we look in January, now here's the play right here, guys. Like, instead of grading it in January, it was a $78 PSA 10. Now it's $108. So it has gone up about $38. But honestly, I think for this Pidgeot, the fact that the gem rate is a little high at 60%, but I don't see too many people opening Obsidian Flames, and we did get those restocks of the PC ETBs, the Obsidian Flames Pokemon Center ETBs featuring that Charmander. That ETB was available. It was restocked and restocked multiple times, you guys, multiple times. It was actually pretty crazy how often it was restocked. And so the booster boxes got restocked, I remember, a few months ago too. And they were available, I'm sure they sold out on Pokemon Center, but a long time ago. But let's move on to this Houndour right here. It's honestly a really cute card. I wish I would have pulled this card. I do still want to get some copies of this card. I think it would look awesome with the Houndour with the Houndoom from Shrouded Fable. That Houndoom is probably like a $50 card now. I don't know. Shrouded Fable is going crazy right now. And the pull rates on Shrouded Fable are horrible. Really, really bad. I opened so much Shrouded Fable and only pulled maybe like a few. I don't even remember, guys. It was tough. Let's just say that. But it's up 189%. Look at the volume. 10 to 40 copies being sold every few days. At one point, 53 copies of this card sold for $11.98. And now the price is at $12.53. In January, this was a $5 card. And look at how cute it is. Honestly, it's one of the cutest cards I've seen in a while. It reminds me of the Eevee now with multiple Houndours. So yeah, from a $5 card now to a $12 card. And then the PSA 10 is going crazy too, you guys. It was a $58 PSA 10 in January. It actually dropped from $64 down to $58. Now it's a $109 PSA 10. So from $58 now to $109. That's pretty nuts. Let's look at the gem rate. Only 247 PSA 10s. That's crazy. To 495 or 96 PSA 9s. So that's pretty much a 50% gem rate, roughly. Almost exactly. And you can see right here, gosh, you could see sales at $199 for a PSA 10, $149, $140, $125. Here's an auction with 34 bidders, $140. So these prices are going up quickly for this Houndour. And again, not too many PSA 10s. Very, very rare, to be honest. And you got to go back to the demand too, like how many people are actually going to want the Houndour. But people like to collect exclusively. So don't just think of investors investing in a particular card and rely on them. People do like to collect Pokemon cards and collect PSA 10s. And if there's a really short supply of a PSA 10 and there's a high demand or resurgence, or they're just not available, like in that Houndour's case, there's only 247, it's going to be hard to get one on your hands for a cheap price. Next, we have this Scizor right here. It's been super volatile. This is crazy. Look at the volume, though. You're having 10 to 30 copies of this Scizor being sold every few days since January started. It was $11 card in January, it dropped down to $10 to $12, managed to go up to $13, went down to $10, and now it's about a $12 card. So, it stayed relatively the same price this past month. If we look 6 months ago, this was only a $3 card, you guys. $3 card, you guys. $3, that's crazy. $3. Again, the pull rates were really easy for this set. Now it's a $12 card. It's up 175% for the past 6 months, and it's only up 5% for the past month. So Scizor is honestly a really cool Pokemon, and I think this artwork, I want to see it in person. I bet you it's really nice. So honestly, you guys, I think this is a good pickup for a raw card, and even if you don't grade it, or if you do grade it, eventually the PSA 9 value, I'm sure, will go up over time. The population report we have is 417 in a PSA 10, $201 for the PSA 10, and then for the PSA 9, we have 1,098 PSA 9s. So a little less than 50%. It's about a 40% gem rate for this Scizor, so that's not too good, but it's good for investors and collectors. Let's look at the PSA 10. Yeah, the PSA 10 has been expensive for a long time, and that just goes to show the illustration rares in this set have low gem rates for some of these cards, especially the Scizor right here. So in January, it was $140, and now it's $201 in a PSA 10. So it is up $60 in a PSA 10. $200 Scizor PSA 10. That's pretty nuts. Here's the gold card. It's pretty volatile. Honestly, some of the gold cards aren't really that expensive. However, we do have that Pikachu gold card that is expensive in Surging Sparks. But maybe that's because of the pull rates in Surging Sparks, which are a lot more difficult for sure than Obsidian Flames. And so, yeah, this card has actually dropped from $25 in January to $24. So nothing too crazy. The volume's pretty good at 5 to 15 cards being sold every few days. And what's interesting too is the PSA 10 is pretty strong actually. You can see right here in January it was $147 and it's still $158. So not the most desirable card. It is kind of cool being gold and everything. Let's look at the gem rate. 4,554 PSA 10, so that's a lot. For a card, I think that's not the most desirable card. And then PSA 9s, we have 7,527. So about less than 50%, we'll call it maybe 40, 45%. Look at the PSA 9, $39, but the PSA 10, of course, because it's a perfect 10 PSA, right? $158. So not the most desirable card in my opinion. All right, we're going to go into this Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box. Like I said, this was available for so long on the Pokemon Center. They kept restocking it. And honestly, at the time, you're hearing about Team Rocket and all these other sets possibly coming out in the future. I just didn't pull the trigger, so I only have 2 of these. And at least I have 2, right? And they've gone up tremendously. They're about $268 right here for the market price. It's gone up from January from $251 up to $268. So it's up $17. I am looking to sell one of these on Facebook for 200 and I think I'm selling it for 250. And people keep lowballing me like 220, 200, 240, and I'm like, dude, there's no way this continues to go up. Like, it's literally the stamped Charmander is like, gosh, we might look at the price, but it's crazy expensive. But yeah. So yeah, not too much volume, honestly. Makes sense. Looks like 19 sold for 247. And then it took off again to 268. So it is really expensive, and it's hard to pay that much for an ETB. Next, we have the Booster Bundle. It's up 30% since January from $28 to $37 right now. So that's about what? I have something in my eye. Sorry, guys. That's about a $10 gain. Yeah, $28 to $37. That's about $10, $11 gain in just the past month since January. Yeah, since January 14th. And the volume looks pretty good at 5 to 10 booster bundles being sold every few days. But like I said, instead of paying $37 market price, you guys, here's the play right here. Man, I'm thinking about doing it. I only got a few Journey Togethers. I'm going to kind of wait on that and wait for May for the Destined Rivals that has Team Rocket and a few other things in it, right? Those Marnie and Steven decks, the Japanese decks, illustration rares will be in that set according to PokeBeach. But yeah, $28, you guys, and you can get multiples of these booster bundles. I don't know if Hills, it's called Hills Wholesale Gaming. I don't know if they have a limit, but you can get 10 of these for $300. It's $28, and you can already make, what was it, $11 each on them. So $11 each, that's $110 if you sell all of these booster bundles at the current market price. You can make $100 basically if you sell each of these. Don't forget the fees on eBay, or you can sell them locally on your Facebook groups. But yeah, fees on eBay are about 13%. But yeah, there's the play right there, guys. $28 versus market price being $37. All right, and I just want to note some other products right here, the sleeve booster packs, and we'll look at a couple cards that we missed real quick. But yeah, sleeve booster packs. Can you believe it? For Obsidian Flames have now hit $5. Just in January, they were $3.78. You guys, you could have bought a bunch for $3.78 and sold them now for $5. You could have made $2 on average for each of them if you're selling on eBay, Mercari, wherever you like to sell, OfferUp, Facebook. But yeah, you could have made $2 on each of these. Let's say you got 10 of them. You could have made, what is that? 10 times 2. What? I guess that's not too much, huh? That's only like $20. But if here's the key though, if you get several of these and you put a little bit more risk in it, you get 100 of these. I know it's tough to do. And you sell them for $2 each. That's $200 if you sell 100 of them. Obviously, the demand has to be there. You have to be very patient as a seller. You have to be willing to change your prices every few weeks, every few days, every few months, just depending on the market. And so here's also the Build and Battle Stadiums, $53 market price. I think those are pretty good to get. Or the booster bundles. I think those are decent plays. You also have the Eevee right here, Blister, $16.21. I don't know if it's available on Pokemon Center. You might want to check there first. But it has an Eevee, you guys. It has Obsidian Flames. Remember that Charizard is a $400 PSA 10. The Ninetales is a $300 PSA 10 Ninetales. So those are probably the two top chase cards. I think this Pidgeot's going to take off too one day. It's a Pidgeot, you guys. Gen 1 starter, the Scizor as well. What is that, Gen 1? Gen 2 evolution upgrade, right? So it's even an evolution. Here's the Pidgey, $11.52. The Houndour we talked about, $12. And the Lechonk, $6. That's a funny card, right? The Pidgeotto right here, I wanted to find the Pidgeotto, $6.60. The Palafin, $3. So there's still some cheap cards in this set. Obviously, some of those Pokemon aren't the most popular. But these two right here, you guys, $400 PSA 10, $300 Ninetales. And here's the latest sales, $415 for that PSA 10 Charizard on February 11th. And you have it right here, $450. So someone got a sweet deal right here for $415. They are already in the green for $45. They've already made a $45 gain on that purchase. Here's the Ninetales, $305 sold on February 11th. That person also got a good deal right here, because earlier today, $349. So this person is up about $40 on their purchase. Even this person right here, $315. They're up $30 on their purchase right now. So you guys, it definitely is a fluctuating market right now, you guys. But there is plays to be made. And as this bull market continues, just be mindful of like what you're trying to get into, what price point are you able to afford it. And are you looking to collect, or are you looking to sell and flip? Because right now is a really good time to buy and flip. You know, as the bull market continues, some of these prices will continue to go up, and then we'll see a price correction. It depends on the card how strong that price correction is going to be. And yeah, so that's everything I have for you guys today. There is the update. I'll see you all later. Peace.